I started my original series on this game talking about the trailers. Now, why did I do that? I wanted to demonstrate that the public perception of the marketing could have easily been different from what the product actually was. And as I talked about in this video where I played Zucosis, I think it is fair to be critical of a game based on an expectation you were given from the promotional material. It isn't your fault if you're given a false impression of a game because the marketing presented something that was different from the actual product. It is on them to accurately portray what their product is. And I don't feel like I'm wrong when I say almost everyone was under the impression that this game would be you fighting vampires and werewolves and an open world style game with the village acting as a hub, with the big bad guys being Dimitrescu and Heisenberg. And as we all know now, that is very much not what we got. This game is just a massive pile of missed opportunity and wasted potential. There are so many really neat and interesting things that they could have done if they were really serious about taking Resident Evil in a new direction that they just never explore. And it's really disappointing. We have significantly more to talk about with this story because it's kinda not great. It does just about everything so horrifically wrong, it's astounding. And oddly enough, our problems start right as the game begins. The game opens with a storybook titled Village of Shadows. Right away, it's clear that it maps out our main objectives in the game, with each antagonist represented symbolically. We'll get to that. But there are a few inconsistencies. Firstly, representing Lady Dimitrescu as a bat is kind of fitting, giving her association with blood throughout the game. Probably the closest way to represent that in a storybook. It leans into the popular belief, thanks to the promotional material, that she might be a vampire, because, you know, vampires, blood. Even if this turns out to be a lie. Here's where things become more problematic. Donna Beneviento, depicted as a seamstress gifting a dress. Yet in the game, her central motif is puppetry, not dressmaking. How did I come to this conclusion? Simple. We only ever see dolls utilized in her section. It's what I have to go with. If the intention is to foreshadow the four lords and represent them in the best way possible in this little storybook, then a doll would have been a more fitting gift in the storybook, because she uses dolls, not dresses. This one in particular feels like an oversight. Moreau as a fish and Heisenberg as a metal horse I'm fine with. And then ending with Miranda appearing, I get it. Mia stopped reading because Rose fell asleep, got it. But lastly, there is the matter of the storybook's title itself, Village of Shadows. This is how deep I'm getting into this thing. Oddly enough, the story in the book does not include a village. It's a small gripe, but it raises questions about why such a title was chosen if its content doesn't directly reflect it. Why is the story called Village of Shadows if the village is barely mentioned and isn't part of the story? The title calls attention to the most important parts of the story. No, I'm serious. The Hobbit. Who's the main character? Bilbo. The Hobbit. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, calling attention to the main character, Harry, and the thing that Voldemort is after in order to bring himself back to life or to full power or whatever. The Sorcerer's Stone. In the video game space, Soma. I'm gonna nerd out here for a moment, alright, strap in. Soma uses a lot of Greek words as names for the respective places you find yourself in throughout the game, and if you look up their symbolic meaning, it just makes me smile a lot because they all fit, so it looks like just an obvious and thematic choice. I love it, it's great. For instance, Delta tends to mean change. Since Delta in the game is just a small junction where you go from one major place to another major place, this makes enough sense to me. Omicron, unity, wholeness, and continuity. Alpha, beginning. theta, death, and soma is very interesting. In Hinduism, soma can symbolically mean a vital principle of existence, and in Greek, soma means body. The game explores the question of consciousness and what it means to be human, so taking that into consideration, I can't help but find soma to be a very fitting title for the game. Amnesia the Dark Descent, it can be taken both literally and figuratively. Amnesia the Bunker, you're in a fucking bunker. Medal of Honor Airborne, you're part of the 82nd Airborne in World War II. Silent Hill, the place is called Silent Hill. Five Nights at Freddy's, you're spending 5 nights at Freddy's Fazbear's Pizza. Shut up. Twilight Princess, you spend your entire adventure with the Twilight Princess. Ocarina of Time, fucking blue ocarina, Majora's Mask, the big bad guy and the main objective is the fucking mask. In the Resident Evil space, Resident Evil, it's Spencer's mansion, the guy responsible for all this bullshit, and this is his house. Do I need to explain it? Resident Evil Village. The village is the focal point. It is the place that is connecting all these places together. It is the place where Miranda decided to do all of her experimenting. The game cannot exist without the village. Though I would argue you spend a majority of time at the castle, house, lake, and factory. The village itself, the most time you spend in it is when you're looking for all the extra shit, and when you're not, then it just serves as a connection point from one major set piece to another. But back to the original point, the book being called Village of Shadows, I would have called it Miranda and the Four Lords, because the fucking book is literally about Miranda and the four fucking lords. Like, the villagers worship and pray to these people. Of course there's going to be a book about them, so I think that would make more sense. Maybe a little too on the nose, but Village of Shadows just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to call it that. So speaking of Miranda, we transitioned from that to Miranda reading the local storybook to Rose, the child meant to be the way she gets her daughter back, and making local food. Knowing that Miranda's intentions were to kidnap Rose, it really begs the question, why bother with this? Because you learn through the various notes you find throughout the game that Miranda's intentions were to kidnap Rose and presumably kill Ethan in the process, so what was she waiting for? Kidnapping and taking Mia's form? I get that. Best way to infiltrate the house and get close to the child and fool Ethan. We don't know exactly when she did this. Evidently it was fairly quick because of what Chris says here.
We didn't expect Miranda to act so soon.
Which just puts Chris's character further into question. But in previous titles, the antagonists were always quick to capture and recapture the people that you're there for. Like, even in the previous game, not even a few minutes after you busted Mia out of there, old reliable Jack said fuck you and took her away again. Here, we're taking time to read a bedtime story, make a nice dinner with wine. When were you going to move, Miranda?
They're there. It's like I said to your mom. That book's too scary for you.
Yeah, and she's comatose. Not only will she not understand a single thing that Miranda is saying, but she can't hear it anyway. Has anyone else noticed that Rose never opens her eyes at any point in this game? She is permanently comatose. And then...
Mia! Get down! Mia!
This is a criticism that I'll get into more when talking about Ethan's character in this game, but seriously, dude, like, yell, move, do something. You literally just got done mentioning military training. Like, the fact that you don't fucking move is the thing that kills me. You move when it's too late. I've never seen a more prominent personification of input lag in my entire life. Mia, get down! Jesus Christ. And yeah, I get that the weapons are supposed to have suppressors on them, but there would be more noise than this. Like, I'm legitimately wondering if they forgot to add some gunfire soundbite in the background. Like, it's generally understood, especially these days, that suppressors do not silence gunshots, even if you're using subsonic ammunition, which is the ammo type that you use to actually make it quiet. It's more of a muffler, but you can still hear it. You just don't need ear protection. If you don't use subsonic ammo, all it really does is just hide the muzzle flash. Oh my god, I just noticed something else. The why that Ethan says in game is worse than in the trailers. Like, in the trailers, it sounded like a legitimate reaction to seeing Chris shoot Mia.
Chris? Sorry, Ethan. Why?
But here?
What? Why?
Why?
Why? He doesn't even sound that perturbed. He's just like, oh, wife got shot. Well, they're stealing my baby. Well,
it was like as if he slapped him in the face. Like, why? Like, he sounds more annoyed than anything. It's like, why did you even redo it in the first place?
Why?
This one was completely fine. Why have a different one? You already had this rendered. This one,
why?
Has more emotion and makes Ethan feel, well, real for once. This one,
why?
Is just so painfully flat and weak in comparison. And as I said, it sounds like he's annoyed rather than reacting to Chris gunning down his wife. I truly have no idea why you, Capcom, decided to use it and not the one from the trailer. It's a soundbite. You know what? Here, I'll do it for you.
Chris? What the hell? Sorry, Ethan. No! Why?
That's better. So, whoa, it's Chris. Oh no, is he a bad guy? Whoa, we'll talk about Chris and not telling Ethan anything when we talk about his section of the game. Okay, lovely ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment to pause here and discuss some things. Just like the last game, this game's story has a MacGuffin. Out of these three on the screen, can you guess who the MacGuffin is? Pause the video now and leave your choice in the comments. Has your answer been submitted? If you chose B, Rose, then congratulations, you are correct. Yes, Rose is the MacGuffin of this story. We'll talk about the problem that I have with Rose in this game when we get done with the castle. Alright, so they have two trucks outside, right? Chris goes in one of them, and they just leave, I guess. They put Ethan, Rose, and Miranda in the other truck together. And of course, that means Miranda wakes up, crashes the truck, and takes Rose. Jesus Christ, this annoys the shit out of me. You're telling me that Chris, the guy that went through Spencer's mansion, dealt with the bioterrorism incidents in Africa, Eastern Europe, and China, and more recently had to deal with fucking Lucas Baker and saw how well that went, thought that not only just shooting the body a couple dozen times is good enough rather than destroying every feasible trace of it, but also that it's going to be a fantastic fucking idea to put the precious cargo, Ethan and Rose, in the same truck as Miranda, the fucking bioweapon. You, quite seriously, could have had the same thing happen if you separated them, having Ethan and Rose in Chris's truck and Miranda in the other. Have her wake up, fuck up her truck, hop over to Chris's truck, wreck it, capture Rose. You would have gotten the same result without making Chris look like a fucking moron. So Ethan's in Dreamland, and we have this scene.
Hey, Doc.
Hello, Mr. Winters. I've got your daughter's results back, and I'd like you to come in to talk about them. How about next Thursday, 4 o'clock?
No problem. We'll be there. That was the doc. She'll see us next week. Hey now, think positively, all right? We talked about this.
I know. We hardly talk about anything else. I keep telling you, it's not Rose that I'm worried about.
Well, then what are you worried about? Look, she's gonna be fine. I just know it. What else matters?
We matter, Ethan! You matter! You just
Mia, what are you talking about? Is there something you're not telling me? Come on, talk to me. Damn it. I have to take this.
Like I said in the last video, this is not how I would have handled this, because in this scene, she's not worried about Rose, she's worried about Ethan, because he's a walking mold corpse that she decided to have a child with, and she doesn't know how to tell him that, nor does she know what's gonna happen. Her behavior suggests she's annoyed rather than concerned, frustrated rather than concerned. She gets up, storms out, yells, and slaps the threshold. The behavior is aggressive and hostile, not suggesting care or worry. When Ethan asks what she's worried about, rather than getting up in a huff and walking away, I would have had her say, "I'm worried about you, Ethan." The obvious next question would be, why? And have her say, because there's something I need to tell you, but I don't know how. Fucking honesty, communication, something that should fucking be there in a relationship, you know? And you can still have her yelling, but the context would be different, and then have him take the phone call or whatever. But really, anything other than what we got would have been better. Because speaking of what we got, if we take a quick look at the notes that we find at the beginning of the game on Ethan's laptop, now, I could be reading it wrong, but this note suggests to me that she still hadn't told him that she was an agent yet. Or if she did, then it sounds like it was begrudgingly and evidently didn't tell everything because he still wants to talk about it, so she's still hiding shit. I don't like Mia. Mia sucks. For me, Mia is not a likable character, and you kinda need characters to be likable for us to, care about what happens to them. For instance, this scene. For our first time playthrough, we're meant to believe that this is Mia getting shot. We're supposed to care that she's getting blapped. I kinda don't like Mia already based on Resident Evil 7, and with this flashback and this note, I still don't like her. So I don't really care about her. She got capped? Good. Fuck her. She sucked. Let's contrast that to Claire. I care about what happens to Claire. I want her to make it through. Why? Because she is a thoroughly likable character. So we wake up and head down to the village, and we actually get some gritty stuff come back into play here. Oh my god, 2 fingers torn clean off. Brother, that's gotta fucking hurt. I'm probably gonna have to manage that medical wrapping, get some bandages, change them out every now and then. That looks like medical gauze too, by the way, so absolutely gonna bleed through. Nope, he just wraps it up and remains completely unaffected. Damn. Same hand that got stapled back on, by the way, and I'm really curious if the staples are still there. Jokes aside, this is also a point of criticism, cause fucking dude has 3 fingers and half his palm left, and he's still handling pistols, magnums, rifles, and grenade launchers with no detriment whatsoever. And it's not like Outlast 1 where Miles is only operating a camcorder. They wanted the body horror and the disfigurement that you see in a lot of these horror games without the consequences, and I'm sorry, but there is no defending that. I want you to try and hold on to something with 3 fingers and half of your hand and tell me how good your grip is. Anyway, after we survive for the allotted amount of time, we get ambushed by a pack of Lycans who then get called back by the church bells. For some reason. We don't know why they took so long to try and kill us. They mostly just stood there and yelled at us. It's especially weird considering this dude didn't hesitate to chomp our hand and throw us out here, and they just yell at us. Don't really do anything, you know? Also, never see them ride horses at any other point in the game, by the way. But yeah, the bells called him back, and the obvious comparison to make is Resident Evil 4 when you enter the village. Shit's super fucked, and then the Ganados are stopped by the church bells and go away. You learn through RE4's side stories separate ways that Ada was the one who rang the bell to call them back before they overwhelmed Leon. Miranda calls off the Lycans because she intends to keep Ethan alive. That's also why she didn't kill him when she took Rose. Why, Bowie? Why does she do this? Well, Heisenberg actually tells Ethan straight up, sorta. Another reason why I'm annoyed at Ethan. Miranda is using Ethan to get rid of the lords for her, but it's not because she intends to make him the new member of the family. No, she just doesn't need the lords anymore. Remember, the 4 lords were created because they were the most promising subjects to be the vessel that she needs to bring Ava back, but now that she has Rose, she doesn't need them anymore as far as she's concerned. So rather than doing it herself, well, she's got a vengeful father coming after her. What better way to get rid of them than have him do it for her? Oh shit, he got caught by Heisenberg? Huh. Well, let's have them debate about which one should kill him. That way she can listen to the arguments and have Heisenberg do it, because she knows that Heisenberg isn't happy and has been pretty busy over in that factory. He won't kill Ethan, he'll let him go, masking it as entertainment to fool the other lords. Oh, Heisenberg, you took care of it? Cool. Hey, all of you, hang on to these officially licensed, individually marked containers for me. I'll let you know when I'm ready to do things. And once he's outlived his usefulness, well, there's just no need to keep him around. But yeah, that's why she calls off the Lycans. Alleged. Anyway, this is where things start to get weird and where I begin to suspect that Capcom wanted to show us all the interesting things they could have explored, but just decided not to. Because here, the old lady, the crazy but wise old lady of the village, says the bells means they're coming again. It's doomed for us all. There are so many layers to why this makes no sense at all. Firstly, if we're talking about the Lycans, no it doesn't. The bells are what called them away from the village. If we're talking about the lords, the villagers worship the lords and make sacrifices to them. Why would they think that the bells mean the people they worship are coming to kill them? Because Mother Miranda protects the village, you know. And then, this is Miranda. Like, yes, obviously she would lie to Ethan to get him to do what she wants, but why lie about the bells? There's legitimately no point to it. Because the bells never come into play, ever, after this point. But then there's another problem. This game really struggles with the passage of time. We see that as early as it being pitch black here, and then in the time it takes Ethan to go down to the basement and back, the sun is coming up. Like, holy shit, the sun's fast, but it's not that fast. But then this hag is over here saying,
Rose! Rose, yes. She is in great danger. Since Mother Miranda brought her to the village, we have fallen into darkness.
Like, no, most of those bodies that we've seen have definitely been dead for a while, and she only just took Rose. It's been a few hours and they're trying to treat it like multiple days. It's so weird. It's like the game can't decide if this stuff recently happened or if we were knocked out for a while. Especially when you start thinking about the whole 100 years thing with Miranda experimenting on the village. And then the lords experimenting on people, you would think someone would have figured something out by now. We get to Louisa's house and find a bunch of survivors who are killed immediately. Do I need to go over all of the villagers dying again? No? Okay. It's so stupid. You had a chance to have something super interesting with Ethan here, having some help and people he can eventually learn to trust and come to rely on, and also expose that these people pray to a bioweapon that has been experimenting on them and see that reaction and how they deal with that, have some actual fucking character development and complex, uncomfortable conversations, or maybe have them all be infected and have it be like they can all be influenced to do things like in the previous game or Resident Evil 4, and you walk in on them at each other's throats or praying to Miranda, and you help find a way to free them from this influence before they fully succumb and turn into Lycans. And that's how you learn that all the Lycans used to be villagers. Maybe have the sick one turn, and they help you get Rose back because you're helping them trying to fix their home. But no! Let's just kill all of them because my daughter. Creativity is dead. We've killed it by continuing to accept fucking bullshit ass writing like this fucking game. Anyway, they all die except for Mia's replacement, and we get the key to the truck and Christ, this shit gets me every fucking time I look at it. So, we get the truck key. We can see that the door right behind the truck is wood. It's got a whole bunch of gaps in it. It's just got a bunch of shit in the way. So instead of trying to ram the truck through the wooden door that will more than likely break when running a truck through it, even in reverse, instead of that, we decide to drive through the brick wall that we could have just fucking walked through and crash into the other wall, ultimately accomplishing nothing. What the fuck was the point of any of that? Why is Ethan so fucking retarded? What does this look like? Yeah, Christ, whatever. So she dies because she's a fucking idiot. Ethan gets whiny, does not feel any pain whatsoever. But considering which hand that is, I think I'll forgive that. And jumps out the window, opens the door to go to the castle. Victory. So then we get captured by Heisenberg, who says he didn't think anyone was left. And fucking sticks us with some metal. I hope he knew that we'd be fine from that. And here we have the Baker Dinner Table 2.0 where Heisenberg lets us go, and we know why. This stone bridge has confused me for so long. I never understood what exactly happened here. And I managed to figure out that this stone bridge thing breaks and rests at the bottom of this point here, but why? Did Urias hit it with his hammer or something? Did it break under his weight? I still don't understand how this particular scene plays out, so let's look at it together. What the fuck is this shit? It goes and pivots on nothing. There's nothing under there. What the fuck? Oh my god, the corner cutting is fucking insane. It just gets worse the more you look at it. I mean, I get that it's from a first-person perspective, so you can get away with shortcuts like that, but come on, man. Anyway, we escape and we're on our way to the castle again. So we get to the castle to look for Rose and so we go in as soon as we escape and we don't talk to anyone else at any point, and we almost immediately get captured again. Huh.
Starting to go a little stale.
I will talk about this later. Oh boy, everyone knows that this is silly, but it's okay. We just heal that right up with the goop juice that is inarguably in the fucking narrative now, because this is still a cutscene. So we think Rose is here, but we don't know where. So we need to look around and try to find her. And we run into Dimitrescu. I can't say it any other way. I'm so sorry. Who says that she ain't here and then cuts her fucking hand off. And for some fucking reason, Ethan decides the best thing to do in this particular situation is run right next to the 9-foot tall person that cut his hand off as if she wouldn't fucking grab him. Ethan, there is a wide open path off to the left. Guys, I'm getting the impression that Ethan isn't all that smart. Which brings me to... It never gets old. I'm not going over this again, but like fucking hell, man. Like, I get it here, it's because he's supposed to be mold, but there are ways to suggest that Ethan is not normal and not do shit like this, which eliminates all stakes narratively. We do some gameplay stuff and kill Dimitrescu's daughters by exposing them to the cold air in various ways, and then damaging them. One of them is in this room where the ceiling opens up. The door is locked when you come to this room, and the argumentation is that, well, Dimitrescu locked her daughter in there to protect her. But I don't give a fuck who you are. If the person you are trying to protect can die by being exposed to the cold air, you would not lock them in a room where the fucking ceiling opens up, allowing the cold air to come in when you know the cold air is what affects them. Stop fucking defending this shit writing. It is fucking stupid. Speaking of stupid, after we do all the puzzles, kill all the people, collect all the things, now it's time to open this door. Why are we opening this door? Because if we read the note that's in the attic, we learn that there is a knife in this room that will make Dimitrescu mortal. Meaning that if we get this knife, then we can kill her. Now, my advice, if you're an invulnerable vampire wannabe and the only thing that can make you vulnerable is a special little stabby stick, I would do a little bit more than lock it behind a fancy lock system. I would melt that shit down. If I can't do that, then I would yeet it into the fucking moat or the river or literally anything, not fucking keep it in-house where someone can potentially find it and use it. Just my 2 cents. Something equally stupid, transforming into a monster with this fuck-off pie hole and doing everything except killing the man. There is no reason why you should pick me up, have me literally in your hands, and not kill me at this point. It would seem that Dimitrescu has contracted the disease that so many villains are afflicted with. That's right, I'm talking about protagonist toss disease. Please consult your doctor about protagonist toss disease and how you too could be affected. But yeah, this is an extremely cheap way to keep your antagonist from immediately killing your protagonist. You could just not do this and find a different way to play this situation out. Like, and hear me out here, Ethan stabs her, sees that she's stunned a bit. Then, instead of just standing there like the walking input lag that he is, he can run past her like he tried to do before, look back and see that she's transforming. And then you can evade her as she destroys the castle as you go, get some symbolic representation in there, and then you can loop him back around to the destroyed chapel and have the final fight play out like normal. Essentially the same things would happen just without the disease. And a more symbolic end, the destruction of the castle representing the complete death of House Dimitrescu. But regardless of that, we murk Dimitrescu and pick up this fancy flask here and Bowie, that's our daughter. Oh, of course, you know, now that I look at it again, how could that not be our daughter, am I right? I stand by what I said in my original videos. I think they should have just made these flasks like some sort of power cells or some shit and just kept Rose stuck in a basement somewhere because this shit does not make any sense in any capacity. Like, what do you mean her body parts are in these flasks and they goop up in the end and here's the baby? Fuck off. Bowie, there's been weird shit in Resident Evil before. Yeah, but you were able to explain it in some capacity. The Ganados will mutate because of the last Plagas. Saddler can control you because you have the parasite inside of you. The family is absolutely fucked because Evelyn infected them. This is some shit that somebody just made up, and that's as far as they went with it. Like, how? That's the biggest thing, is how. Suspension of disbelief does not cover you here. You need to explain something. It's writing 101, cause and effect. Resident Evil 4, cause, Leon gets injected with a parasite. Effect, Saddler can control him. Effect, Raccoon City has the outbreak. Cause, scientists did normal horror story scientist retarded shit. All we get are these flashes that don't tell us much. It's just showing Rose's POV of Miranda taking her and the Lord seeing her. How? Anyway, this definitively means the Lords have Rose, so now we need to go to House Beneviento. This section starts as soon as we enter the gate with this hallucination-inducing mist, and we'll get to these visions in a minute. We go through this very apparent shift from vampires and monster horror to psychological horror, and this is another thing that I advise against. Genres of horror exist for a reason, and mixing them very rarely works, especially if you want the story to make sense. It can be very jarring going from a creature horror like Jaws to something like... Why am I drawing a blank? Insert your favorite psychological horror movie here. Going from Jaws to that within the same movie. It can be really jarring because of the very apparent tonal shift which can affect the immersion. And then there's also the issue of consistency. It's a better idea to just stick to one genre of horror for your story. There's less room for error. Kinda like what the series did up until this reboot, Zombies and Scientific Experiments Gone Wrong. It's a classic. Anyway, here we come to Beneviento's house, and this is a part that everyone cites as the scariest part of the game, and it's because of the build-up to this. And to an extent, I understand why. It's because some of them only played the game once or twice, and some of them just didn't think about it for too long. But for me, this is far from being the scariest part of the game, and the existence of this creature frustrates me because they cheaped out. This part is... It's like you're looking at a nice, beautiful brick wall, but that wall has the depth of a playing card. As long as you just stare right at the front of the wall, it's fine. But if you try to look at it from any other angle, you'll see the illusion. Starting with the hallucinations. These don't go anywhere beyond this specific area of the game, and in my opinion, poorly executed. The hallucinations are meant to build up to you seeing the creature. They're basically Mia freaking out and saying that there's something very wrong with Rose, you have to fix her. So there's a big problem, everyone leaves her, she can't tell Ethan, so it has you thinking about what's wrong with Rose. And then he gets a phone call from Mia saying she didn't want to keep it from him and that she had to do it.
Please, Ethan, listen to me. I didn't want to keep it from you.
Mia?
I didn't want to lose you again. I didn't want to destroy this family.
Mia, what are you talking about?
I love you both so much. I had to. I had to do it.
Doesn't even question that he's talking to Mia, who, as far as he knows at this point in time, is fucking dead because Chris shot her, by the way. Oh no, the cradle thing that was here is now broken, and I hear a baby, and then...
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
So this obviously gets you thinking, like, what did she do? Did she try to kill Rose? What happened here? Oh, there's the baby. Here's the issue. Ethan does not give a shit about the hallucinations or what he hears. Rather than hearing what Mia says and questioning, like, what did she say? What's wrong with Rose? What can't she tell me? What did she do? Like, the hallucination is so real, he's believing it. He's getting pulled in. This damn fucking plank of wood says...
What's going on? This can't be real. Am I losing it? What's going on? Mia, what are you talking about?
I can't do anything but this.
Tremendous. I'm so glad I'm playing as Ethan. Doesn't even react to the baby that's being hyped up. No, you know where all those reactions are? His diary. They fucking wrote it rather than showed it. And it isn't even that much either. It's like 1 or 2 entries. And then that brings us to this bullshit. Absolutely nothing about my previous questions or arguments have changed. Donna Beneviento decided to divide her plant blob into tiny pieces and implant them in her dolls so she can control them in a mock, telekinetic, telepathic way. She's also able to secrete something that causes severe hallucinations. You defeat Beneviento by stabbing her doll Angie 3 times in a game of hide and seek, with the 3rd stab full-on penetrating the plant. When you snap out of the hallucination, you're moving away from Beneviento rather than the doll, so logically, one of 2 things happened here. Either we definitely did stab the plant the entire time and the plant dying means its host dies as well, or it was truly just an illusion and we were stabbing Beneviento the entire time. If that second option is the case, you can disappear at will. Your hallucination makes you invisible to Ethan. Why didn't you move anywhere? If the plant was the cause of death, why did you let him continue to stab it? Why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you make the doll disappear? Why did you play fucking hide and seek? Like, really? Again, you can disappear and reappear at will while you have Ethan under your control. Why didn't you just appear behind Ethan with like a sewing needle and stab the shit out of him? This is why I say Ethan is only alive because the bosses are incompetent rather than Ethan being better than them. You have Ethan at your mercy because you seem to have control over the hallucinations. The solution is fucking obvious, and yet, through some Herculean logic that we mere mortals couldn't possibly understand, you decide to do this instead. How the actual hell did you expect this to go? This is the same kind of thing we talk shit to Voldemort about in Harry Potter. Voldemort was so dependent on magic he couldn't kill a fucking toddler. Beneviento is so dependent on her plant doll that she can't slit Ethan's throat in her own illusion. I just love it when antagonists are fucking stupid. A common argument that you will see brought up is, well, this fill-in-the-blank thing happened in other Resident Evil games. Just because something bad was done in other titles does not make it good. It just means it's bad here, and it was also bad in those other games. The "it was done before in these other things" argument does not help anything, and it's not an excuse for continuing to do the bad thing. What you could have done with this section, instead of playing fucking hide and seek with a doll, have Ethan fight against Beneviento. The fight starts as soon as you get out of the elevator because it's all her illusion. She knows Ethan got out of the basement, she couldn't get in his head, couldn't get his fear to take hold and keep him down there and basically have him kill himself, so now she has to get her hands dirty. And you don't know this happens as soon as you step out, but you can have some kind of audio playing in the background, have it very subtle so it's only barely noticeable, and then as you move around the house you hear it getting louder and louder, and when it's the loudest, Beneviento slices you. Most players will naturally run away because they're taking damage. You gotta get some distance between you and whatever it is, and you can catch a glimpse of Beneviento, but she disappears again. And that's how the fight goes. She appears when she makes contact because that briefly snaps you out of the illusion, but she makes it take hold again and she disappears. But when she's invisible, how do you know where she is? Well, there's dolls all around the house, right? And she put the plant in them so she can control them. What if we had some of the dolls look at her when she's near them, so if you pay attention to the dolls, you know where she is? I don't know. Just a thought. But anyway, we kill Donna and take the next flask, so now we need to go down to the lake. The lake really doesn't have much substance to it. It almost feels like a filler area where you can just get slightly more lore stuff and that's about it. You fight the big dog looking thing, get the grenade launcher, that's gameplay stuff. But this is great, you'll like this. Ethan goes over here, grabs a flask without Moreau noticing, and instead of doing the sensible thing and fucking leaving, he just stares at him, waits until he sees him, and has a chat with him. I hope I don't need to explain why this is stupid. Know what else is stupid? This.
What the hell? Research post or something? What the fuck are they doing here?
Get off of me! Stay the fuck down!
Ethan! I gotta say, I'm surprised you made it this far. It'd be a shame if something happened to you now.
Sure, Chris. Why not? You killed Mia. Now do me and finish the job.
Hey, Cap. I'm getting some serious motion readings out here. We should move on.
What kind of readings? What's moving?
Unknown, but my guess is we've been here too long and Miranda knows it.
Hey, did you say Miranda? How are you involved?
Leave it alone, Ethan. You are out of your depth.
Brother, y'all have been just standing around doing fuck all, calling it recon. Meanwhile, I already eliminated 2 bioweapons by myself while you've been standing here in your little fucking jacket. Brother, where is your fucking weapon? I don't know who you are, but you are not Chris Redfield. Anyway, thanks for distracting me so the bad guy has time to transform and charge a little shack here. Then Moreau talks some hella shit that doesn't make sense to us, then he transforms again, and then we do some gameplay stuff, drain the water, pop the blister, bam, you're done with the lake. Narratively, there's really not a lot to say about the lake. It's very devoid of any substance. Environmentally, I like it. The artists did their job. It looks exactly what you would expect to see from a heavily flooded area. A lot of algae, everything is green, wet, and slimy, almost a direct reflection of Moreau as a character, but narratively, very weak. But there is an attention to detail thing that I want to talk about. Let's take a moment from Resident Evil 4 as a quick example. This lake. When you first approach the lake, if you shoot it enough, the monster will get mad and eat you. Now, this is pretty funny that it's part of the game. But if you think about it more, it makes a lot of sense, and it's an impressive amount of attention to detail. The creature may be mutated, but it's still an animal. It's territorial. You are shooting at its territory, at its home, so the logical thing to happen is to have the monster attack and defend its home. It makes sense. Moreau, on the other hand, simply does not give a shit that you are trying to shoot the water or him when he mutates. Which is weird because he clearly cares about the water being there. We know that by what he says after we drain it. I don't know, man. He cares enough to jump out of the water to try and eat us, but he doesn't care if we shoot said water or him. So much so that absolutely nothing happens if you try to walk into him as he's walking away from the drained lake. Like I said, weak. I'm skipping over the stronghold because that's mostly gameplay stuff, but there is another little attention to detail thing that I want to call attention to.
The king's orders finally arrived. Withdraw. It is most vexing that we must abandon the border stronghold to those heretics. If I had but a little more time, I know I might be able to turn the tides of this battle. Nay, I should not put on airs. It is my curiosity that ties me to this place.
Well, that sounds pretty neat. I wonder what the node texture looks like. I'll never forget her 5th birthday. Guys, how hard is it? Why are we reusing assets? I would expect that from an indie studio, and I would accept that from an indie studio. You are Capcom. You are acting like you're an indie studio. Did you run out of budget? I want you all to understand. This is Rose right now. Gripping. But that's all okay because what happens after that, it's fucking legendary.
Mia?
Truth hurts, though. Let me guess. You're thinking, take me out like the others, and then he gets to go and save Rose, right?
I'm healing my daughter.
Look, you got this all wrong. Shut your fucking hole! Sorry. Take a seat. Listen, Ethan, you're being played.
What are you talking about? You think this is a game?
I said sit! Lady, supersized bitch. Ugly ass psycho doll. And then moronic freak. Don't you get it? It's a test. To see if you're strong enough to be a part of Miranda's family.
I don't want to be a part of Miranda's family.
Neither did I, but here we are. And I'm next in line, right? Kill me, move up the chain. Well, fuck that!
I don't give a damn about your personal issues. I just want to fix my daughter.
So do I. Do you have any idea how powerful that kid is? Even Miranda's scared of her. Last time, you freak, I swear to God! You and me, Ethan. Together, we can go save Rose, and then we can use her to grind Miranda into paste.
My daughter is not a weapon. Fuck you!
Last chance. You don't want to find out what's in that hole.
I'll take my chances.
You're futile.
Now, I stand by what I said in my original videos. I think Ethan is a dense moron. We are in a situation where we might not be able to tell that Miranda is a bioweapon, but we can tell that she's got something going on. We've torn through 3 of the 4 lords, and now the 4th one tells us that he left the flask in the stronghold. If we can get to it, we can have it. He doesn't lie about that. Then he says he wants to talk, and in that talk, he is offering to help us. And he wasn't even lying about wanting to kill Miranda. He's held a grudge ever since she kidnapped him and experimented on him. Like, the first time I played, when he said this,
Neither did I, but here we are!
That got my attention immediately. Like, whoa, hold on, what does that mean? He didn't want this? Tell me more. Once again, another example of us having the opportunity to do something interesting, and then we decide, nah. Well, alright, Bowie, what would you have done? I would have had Ethan be naturally tense, because Heisenberg is still a bad guy for us. He tells us we're being played, and have Ethan say, what are you talking about? He tells him about Miranda using Ethan to kill off the other lords. Ethan says, you're one of Miranda's lords, why should I trust you? Heisenberg gives his pitch, then Ethan goes, what the hell do you mean use Rose? That forces Heisenberg to say what using Rose means, because based off the game, using Rose could mean anything. We don't exactly know what that means when he first says it. Like, what, you're just gonna pick her up and point her at Miranda like a crucifix? The power of Christ compels her? Drop of blood? Is she gonna disintegrate from this? Will it hurt? How does this play out? We get Heisenberg to give some kind of explanation, then from there you can have Ethan go into defensive, like, I would help you kill Miranda, but we are not using my daughter to do it. And then to make Heisenberg be the bad guy again, have him kick the chair out, grab him and say, we do it my way or I do it myself, and go from there. And since nothing else happens until we get back to the top of the factory, I can talk about this place. I really like the environment of the factory, and it's because of this one scene that I think everyone can agree is the eye-opener for this area. This is awesome. This is a horrific image. It's these horrifying experiments on human bodies, and you look at this image and you just see bodies and bodies and bodies on conveyor belts in this wheel. It makes you wonder just how many people are here, how many have been experimented on. It's wonderful. What isn't awesome is when we get back to the top, we are confronted by Heisenberg, and instead of taking advantage of a fucking perfect opportunity to have some fascinating gameplay, where we have to think outside the box, come up with a different way of killing him because guns don't work on him, we throw all of that away, just have him turn into a monster where he just so happens to be vulnerable to bullets again. The definition of a wasted opportunity, and I will not forgive Capcom for it. This is pathetic. Anyway, we get knocked down, and now is where Chris decides to give us the details.
I told you to leave it alone, Ethan. You are in the way.
What do you care, Chris? You killed my wife, you son of a bitch!
You think I killed Mia? That wasn't her. It was Miranda.
What?
She's a bioweapon. She changed her appearance and pretended to be Mia. Seems she also survived being shot, so now I'm here to finish the job.
Bullshit! Why don't you fucking tell me right away?
Because I knew you would want to be involved. And this job is hard enough without civilians getting in the way.
Why us, Chris? What the hell is going on?
All right, Ethan. All right. I guess I owe you an explanation. Long story short, Miranda's fucking insane. In this village, all these monsters and freaks, this is her life's work. Some sort of crazy experiment with the mold.
The mold. Like Louisiana. God damn it. All this time, I thought I could save my family. I can't escape from here. I can't do anything!
That might not be true. Take a look at this. My men sent those pictures a few minutes ago.
Miranda.
Keep looking.
Rose. Holy shit, we gotta go!
Relax, my men are monitoring the situation.
But they have my daughter.
You don't get anything. You don't stand a chance against Miranda by yourself. I will stay down here and finish planting explosives. You take that elevator, I'll meet you topside. I promise you, we will get your daughter back. Together.
Damn straight we will. And when I find Miranda, she's a dead woman.
All right, Ethan. Then you take this, and do me a favor. Try to stay under the radar.
Thanks, Chris. We fight Heisenberg after Ethan pretends that he knows what this is.
Metal polymer composite, huh? Time to fight fire with fire.
Brother, I have been on this planet for almost 30 years, and I don't know what that is. But yeah, we kill him, and now that all the lords are dead, we have outlived our usefulness, and Miranda meets up with us and politely tells us that.
Ethan? I heard explosions. What the hell happened?
You rigged the factory with explosives, Chris. What do you mean, what? Here's a question. In the Daughters DLC in Resident Evil 7, when Jack gets infected, he stabs himself in the chest, and we can assume that he cuts his heart in half and he doesn't die. So why does Ethan die, or momentarily pass out to regenerate when Miranda removes his heart? It is essentially the same fucking thing. The heart is no longer functioning, and both Jack and Ethan were infected.
Captain, I've confirmed the death of Ethan Winters. I wasn't able to retrieve the body.
But I did stand right next to it and take a picture.
Who knew she could fake being a corpse?
Well, I imagine getting shot a few times kind of helps with that. But, you know, just a guess. But I think Chris would probably know. You know, after dealing with the infected in Africa who needed to be shot a couple times before finally dying. Or in China. Or in the underwater lab. Chris Redfield. Fucking Chris. I'm gonna be honest, when I made my original videos on this game, I only played 7 and 8. I still thought Chris was obviously not great, but now after playing through the franchise, well, some of it, and seeing what his character used to be, what have they done to him? No one is denying that Chris not telling Ethan anything is absolutely retarded. There's no other way of putting that. There is no way in hell that would be a decision that Chris Redfield would have made. You made a skinwalker Chris Redfield for the sake of drama that you couldn't even execute well. You are seriously trying to tell me that Chris Redfield allowed Ethan, who he considered to be a civilian still, allowed Ethan to do all of this shit on his own, almost refused to help him, by instead telling him to leave it alone and that he's out of his depth, was actively standing on the lake, not taking out the bioweapons, just standing back watching because he was doing recon. You took a character that has been through everything that he's been through, went to Africa to assist with a bioterrorism incident, while also looking for his partner and hunting down Albert Wesker, watched his entire team die and hunted down Ada Wong's clone who was set on destroying the whole world, running into Albert Wesker's son, taking out the ultimate bioweapon at the cost of his partner, who was still willing to risk his life to try and save, even though he was very obviously beyond help, went through Spencer's mansion, and you made him not do a single fucking thing until arguably the last possible second. Shameful. Congratulations, Capcom. You did what Wesker couldn't. You effectively destroyed Chris Redfield. I'm not done with him. It's been a few years, but I still don't understand why his team is posting up against the BSAA here. I do not understand what this situation is. Is he still part of that team from 7? Is the BSAA the bad team now? They're watching them and one of his guys is ready to take one of them out, so, like... the fuck? Anyway, Mia's alive and still not in custody. Now we can talk about this bullshit. To put this simply, you never want to put yourself in a position where you need to retcon things to make things make sense, because it creates the exact problems that this particular situation creates. I already talked about why Jack killing Ethan doesn't make any sense and screws up a lot of the plot in Resident Evil 7, but I think it bears repeating. Because if Ethan was killed by Jack and came back as a mold man, how does he get infected by Evelyn? I would think that wouldn't work considering he's already entirely made out of the stuff that causes the infection. I don't think you'd be able to infect the infection. If he was brought back as mold, why did Zoe need to staple his hand back on? Why did Evelyn bring him back and not give him his hand back? Actually, come to think of it, I know I talked about him being covered in the mold and stuff, but I don't remember seeing those black veins that I talked about, so was he ever infected in the first place? And to reiterate a point from the previous video, if Evelyn brought him back as a mold person, why does she never control him at any point? This is something that I expect from inexperienced indie game writers who back themselves into a corner and don't know where to go or how to get themselves out, as we've seen with the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. I expect better from larger studios, and this is a major problem that is just so fucking confused that simply should never happen. That is the bottom line. It's a stupid plot point, and that's not even bringing up that Mia knew about Ethan and still had a child. Like, what the actual fuck, Mia? I get that you're one of the bad guys. Not even technically, you are one of the bad guys. You're an operative, or at minimum an employee for the Connections, the group that created this bioweapon with the intention of selling it, and you were helping them transport said weapon. But that is taking it to an entirely different degree. Because knowing that Ethan is mold and then conceiving a child, that would imply that you went into this with the intention of creating an entirely new class of bioweapon, because you knew he was a mold man. There are ways to have a similar plot point of Rose having powers and Chris knowing what she can do without Ethan being one of Evelyn's creations. Going with the assumption that he was infected in 7. You could have him still be infected because I don't seem to remember them ever actually curing him at the end when they extracted him and Mia. They just put him in a helicopter and flew off. So you could have gotten away with saying that he was just still infected, and having a child with someone still infected with immunomycete created Rose as we know her. But no, you just had to fuck up the continuity for some unexplainable reason. It's annoying, and this is where we'll talk about this.
Starting to go a little stale.
The intention was that she had that reaction, and we were supposed to be like, whoa, I wonder why our blood tastes stale to this person. What a mystery. And we get revealed that it's because he's moldy. You know why nobody ever fucking thought that? Because of just how much bullshit they put this particular hand through. Brother, this was the hand that was originally chainsawed off, stapled back on, fucking drowned in goop, then fucking bitten off and bandaged up. No, we're not gonna think very hard about her saying that blood, when taken from that hand through medical gauze, is stale. This is exactly why you don't do this, you know? But I will say, it is very impressive that our man is made entirely out of mold, and he still has blood vessels and arteries. Almost like that don't make no sense. Anyway, we go fight Miranda, and there's the baby. Okay. So now we get to talk about this ending scene. It's supposed to be strong and dramatic, but instead it is random and weak. Chris is actively getting Rose and Ethan out of there. They're going to an osprey. Ethan appears to be just fine despite one of his hands crumbling away, but we get to the bridge, we stop, don't move anymore, give Rose to Chris along with our jackets, say, here's my kid, raise her well, take the detonator out of Chris's hand, pushes them away and says goodbye. What's wrong with that, Bowie? Well, here's how I would have written it. Chris says, you did it, Ethan. You beat her. Ethan says, I'm not so sure, looking at his crumbling hand. Chris picks him up, says, come on, I got the Megamycete rig to blow, we need to get out here. They get to the bridge and Ethan stumbles and falls on his hands and knees. Chris tries to pick him up, says, come on Ethan, it's right there. Mia's waiting for you, she's alive. And Ethan says, I'm not gonna make it. You need to take Rose. Yes you are. Now quit talking like that. Look at me! He shows him his hand. I'm dying, Chris. I'm falling apart, my vision's fading, and I'm gonna start slowing you down. We will not make it. I don't want Mia to see me like this. You take Rose, give me that detonator. He hands off Rose, gets the detonator, blows the thing up. A little bit more dramatic, a little bit more self-sacrificing, less what seemed like him just fucking giving up when it looked like he could have kept going if he didn't just stop. An alternative to that, they just run to the helicopter with Mia, they have a touching reunion, they take off, Chris detonates the explosives when they're a safe distance away, Ethan cries out in pain, starts crumbling more because mold, Megamycete, so he and Mia can have a moment and he can still tell Chris to watch over Rose or some shit. Take your pick, just anything that isn't what we got would probably be an improvement. Anyway, for the very final part of this bullshit, we learned that the BSAA, the organization that Chris has been a part of for a very long time that actively seeks out and eliminates bioweapons, are using bioweapons among their numbers. Chris says, what are they thinking? We need to go to the BSAA HQ. And then that plot point just gets immediately ignored because we time jump like 15 years to a teenage Rose, who is a bioweapon, visiting Ethan's grave and getting picked up by, I can only assume, the BSAA. So I guess bioweapons on the force isn't that big of a deal after all, and I guess Chris is still part of them? I genuinely don't know. Also, where's Mia? This game really did not give a fuck about her at all. Before we end this section, I'm not even gonna bother with the fucking epilogue. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge something. There's a lot of lore-related things scattered around the environment that is really neat that helps paint a picture about the background of this area and the people. Like, there's a chalice from one of the 4 founders, and that's probably where House Beneviento comes from. It's all neat, and it shows that they did have attention to detail about the lore, but this lore does not ultimately affect the story. I would have preferred that they put that kind of attention and effort into the main plot before going into detail on all the extra stuff like the history and the foundations for the places. And I also want to take a moment to say, because I think I forgot to, that I do like the environment in the house and the castle too. The house utilizes the darkness of the basement really well to hide that reveal of the baby a little bit, and if you hide in the closets and under the bed like you're supposed to, it does a really good job of making you hear and sort of feel that the monster is right there, but you still can't really see it. Really effective horror stuff. And then the castle just looks great. And some might ask why there's a castle right next to this village, but as far as I can remember, that's actually not too far-fetched for Europe, so it's fine in that regard. Oh man, there are some things that I have to say about the gameplay here. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy some parts of it. I wouldn't have played it for 100+ hours if I didn't, but there are some things. Boy. The biggest thing I want to mention is, yeah, Ethan's default running and walking speed. Like, good lord, man. In the gameplay that I've been showing you so far, I've had Ethan sped up. I am not supposed to be moving this fast. Hello.
Is she blind?
I'm not supposed to be moving this fast, but I am because I absolutely despise the default speed. Let me see if I can drop it down here. Oh, that's loud. Cover your ears. Okay. This is the default speed.
Oh my gosh.
This is me sprinting.
Do you have one leg? Are you in a wheelchair?
That's why I increased the speed from 1 to 2. All right. And there we go.
That looks like normal running and sprinting.
Yes, it does. I think I can pretty accurately say that just about everyone believed that this game was going to be an open world game in the sense that you could choose which lord you wanted to tackle first, kind of like Far Cry 5. And that the village would be like this sort of safe place after we either clear it out ourselves or help what few villagers remain clear it out and help them rebuild, kind of playing homage to the survival aspect of the Resident Evil series before this. We all know that's not what we got because that actually sounds interesting. As soon as we get to this abandoned village and look around trying to find people, we start noticing some attention to detail issues that are very noticeable. This guy gets yoinked through the ceiling and we get pulled through the floor. When you re-enter the house to get the bolt cutters, the floor that you were pulled through, where you would expect to see a hole, is completely fine. No damage in sight. But it's okay because the ceiling still has a hole. Shit like that is everywhere in this game. And all of them are just nothing more than oversights, like there were details put on the back burner but no one ever got to them. The only reason why they become a noticeable issue is because those little things keep stacking and stacking and stacking. Just like in 7, there's a moment where, well, 2 moments actually, where I don't really understand why they had us give any input at all. This extremely short spot here with Elena's father, like, why do we even have this moment here? If you have a gun out, shooting him does absolutely nothing, so you just stand here to get grabbed. You're just going from one cutscene to another. This is a break that does not need to be here at all. And the second moment is here with the truck. Why do you need me to hit the accelerator when I just have to press the button once and it goes back into a cutscene? Just keep it as a cutscene. I don't understand. And since we're at this point in the game, just to recap, the entire reason why we did all of this, gameplay-wise, was just to get a tiny-ass screwdriver to unscrew the latch and grab the thing that opens the castle door. Brother. If you haven't noticed, these are more just free-floating thoughts, because the rest of the time the gameplay is survival shooter with some resource management, pretty standard Resident Evil stuff. Throughout the castle, if Dimitrescu finds you, she will chase you down until you wait in the save room like everyone else does, because Ethan's default running speed is not fast enough to outrun her to the point where she'll leave you alone. She comes into the picture after she slices your hand off. Kinda. If you do what the game wants you to do and go place the mask as soon as you get it, then she'll come through the doors and immediately attack, and you'll have to deal with that. But if you don't do that and just go to the Dimitrescu door in the courtyard, then she won't be an issue until after you get the iron key. But either way, once she spawns, there's no real way for you to create some distance between you and her unless you abuse the save room, like I mentioned. Because Ethan has one speed. Running is quite seriously as fast as walking. There is no difference. It is absurd. But for whatever reason, we had created a decent mechanic to solve this in the previous game and just didn't use it in this game. Up until you fight him in his arena, Jack is a constant threat throughout the house, assuming you activate him before clearing the house of goodies. However, he does not interrupt your progress and you can maneuver around him. You can outrun him. And if you feel like he's hanging around too much for your liking at the expense of resources, and if you have a powerful enough weapon,
that's a gift.
Chill out for a few minutes, giving you some breathing room. What a fucking concept. Now, that said, you can shoot her and it'll stop her for a moment, but not enough to create some distance, especially paired with Ethan's default speed. Ultimately, your weapons have zero effect on her, so there really isn't a whole lot you can do to create distance. The strategy for her that I've seen has basically been abuse the spots where she can't go. So the Duke's room, the kitchen, the rooftops, the upstairs dressing room. There's nothing you can do to stun her like with Jack or Mr. X. maybe this is a preference thing, but I know that I and quite a few others found this more annoying than scary. And the daughters, I got those wrong the first time too. If you're using the normal weapons, shooting them will do nothing, but if you shoot them with a magnum, they'll separate and you can pass right through them. And of course, this platform outside of Dimitrescu's room breaks, which obviously means we can no longer go across this tiny ass gap. Alright, now I want to talk about this dagger. This dagger is the thing we stabbed Dimitrescu with. As far as we know, it is the only thing that affects her enough to force her to transform into a monster and be vulnerable, because bullets do not do the job. We are only made aware of this dagger if we happen to look at this note in the attic that says, and I quote, "I heard there was something called the Dagger of Death's Flowers somewhere in this castle. It's apparently an antique from the Middle Ages that's coated in a concoction of poisons from across the continent. It's said to have been crafted to kill demons and monsters. It sounds fascinating, but no one knows where it is. So our solution to the Dimitrescu situation in the writing room was, quite seriously, magic poison knife." Fucking shoot me. Why does it affect her when she was just infected by the Megamycete? What poison affects the Megamycete and the Kadu that much? All questions, zero answers, and of course he conveniently drops it after he stabs her. The gameplay in the castle, depending on how much you know, it can be really easy. The castle, the little ball minigame things that give skulls for money, the mask locking mechanism, the bell puzzle, the daughters, those are all well and good, but the big thing that I want to talk about in regards to Dimitrescu is her boss fight. Because, and look, I recognize I'm not a game designer, alright? I'm just a dude that plays this shit to an arguably unhealthy degree. But I know what I like and I don't like. And what I don't like is when you have your boss battles set to a particular script. I feel like that removes a lot of creativity that you could have had with a creature like this. So right at the start of the fight on the staircase, you can either shoot Dimitrescu or not. It doesn't matter, because the creature, of course, has a perfect opportunity to just kill you, so instead of having it be a timed action where if you don't do anything you die, like in just about every other classic RE game, if you don't shoot her, she'll just walk forward and knock you over. And that's especially awesome considering it gives you a health potion at the top of the stairs. From here, she'll land and all you have to do is damage her enough and then run around, wait for her to walk around, and then she'll fly off. Do enough damage to her in the sky and she'll tackle you into the building. Run to the top, wait for her to fly in, damage her enough, and she dies. Now, I'm obviously simplifying it. I'm describing the fight at like casual difficulty. Increased difficulties will obviously be harder. But this really is just a joke of a boss fight considering this is the same series where we have Nemesis, Saddler, and Wesker. Need I say more? And now that she's dead, I want to talk about the Rose Flasks, cause what the fuck, man? This shit does not make any sense to me whatsoever. Follow along with me, alright? Let me make sure I'm understanding this thing here. We need the Flasks because we want our daughter back. I got that. But we also need the Flasks to put them in the altar to unlock the chalice, to move it to the ceremony area that also happens to extend the bridge, and it also turns into an elevator for some reason. And then I'm assuming that the chalice is mostly what Miranda pulls Rose out of, so why? You're telling me that they built this whole chalice specifically for Rose, because from what I can tell, Miranda didn't do this whole hoopla with the lords. She didn't put the lords in some jars and goop them up in a chalice. From what I understand, she just infected them with the plant blob and they reacted. Or the Megamycete or something, whatever. Fuck it, whatever. And then this chalice is what controls the bridge. And you can't unlock the chalice if you don't have the flasks. So, do they need to cut up a random person and put them in jars if they want to have the bridge extended at any point in time? Do they just never have access to the factory at any point in time? How does that work? And then why go through all of this? It'll take Ethan a good while to get to you, and then if you want him to take out the lords for you, just get him to believe a lie that one of them has Rose, while secretly you're the one that has her the whole time. I mean this with all sincerity, that the fetch quest of the Flasks and putting them into the chalice makes no sense and could have been handled a different way that would have made more sense. Now, Ethan having an empty inventory at this point in 7 makes sense because Lucas will not let you into the game room with your stuff, previous arguments aside. But here, it's an illusion. How does an illusion make you not notice the weight of weapons on your body? Where are my weapons? Huh, that's weird. I can feel them, but I can't see them. Wouldn't that have been trippy? Fucking, I don't know, whatever. Now, this thing. Why do I dislike this walking blister so much? One simple reason. It goes away if you just hide long enough, and as soon as you realize that, it's over. They had an opportunity here to do something really special and really terrifying. We can talk about positives for a second. I don't mind the build-up. It's meant to be Beneviento fucking with Ethan to scare him. And as I mentioned before, I don't mind the environment either. Just like in RE7, this atmosphere is pretty good. It utilizes the lack of lighting, the sound design, and when you listen to Mia and keep what she says in mind, it's a good natural build-up to a gigantic baby monster chasing after you. That's all fine. In fact, I'll be generous and say I would not have a single problem with this part of the section, and I would be willing to overlook the shift to psychological horror if they had this generic vanilla milk looking ass plank of wood react to what he was seeing and hearing with more than just, huh? What's going on? What's happening? And if they had the baby roam the house, like actually roam. I am very serious when I say this. The baby despawning absolutely kills the fuck out of this part, because the second you notice that, the second you understand that, the second you see that string, all of the horror goes out the window, because that is the very second that you realize there is absolutely nothing for you to be scared of. You can just go hide in a closet somewhere and it'll just go away. And it's an extremely simple fix. Have the baby wander the house, because instead of just chilling in the closet until it disappears, meaning you can walk around the house completely unhindered, now you realize that this creature is looking for you and you have to avoid it while also getting power to the elevator and escaping. And then you can have where, when you put the fuse in, it plays a sound bite of the baby letting off a screech or a scream or something really unnerving. And then you can do what the game does from there, spawn the baby in the hall and just have just enough time to get in the elevator and shut the door so it feels like it's right on your ass. Just have it walk around. Don't remove it. It's like they wanted to do the thing that Amnesia does with the first grunt that you see without understanding why Frictional did that. There is absolutely no question that your very first playthrough of a horror game will always be the most intense, and once you know how the game works, it can be pretty difficult to get that same feeling back on subsequent playthroughs, but this is different. On a first-time blind playthrough, I can of course understand why this all works. Like I said, it's once you notice that one thing about the baby that takes all of that immersion away. And I think it's something that's very noticeable after you played the game a few times, and to the game's credit, it does seem like the baby will remain active on the hunt if you never hide. So what I just said here is wrong. I was actually giving the game a little too much credit. The baby doesn't despawn if you hide long enough. It despawns if enough time has passed and it hasn't killed you, hiding or not. Once the baby spawns, a timer will start. And as long as it's not actively chasing you, once it reaches a certain time, the baby will despawn. It will only remain active if it is actively chasing you, so it is arguably worse than I originally thought. I don't personally mind the puzzles. I'm a little disappointed by the dollhouse because it's the same every time, so you can get to a point where you can just get through the section only taking one item from the mannequin. But also don't listen to me about puzzle games. I have no earthly idea what I'm talking about. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit earlier, and we talked about the gameplay in the house already, but I really do feel like they could have done a whole lot more than just hide and seek. And then for me, the gameplay sort of plateaus here once we get to this part of the game. We get to the lake, which is first getting to the actual lake after Ethan is done being a dumbass, and then it's just one massive course navigation, legitimately just going from point A to point B while dodging Moreau, who's trying to hit those 360 no-scopes. And that's pretty much the rest of the game as well. It very quickly swaps from open world-ish to completely linear. Because Moreau, Urias, and Heisenberg, they're all damage sponges. Their fights are deal enough damage to them and they'll die, which... well, that's at least in line with previous Resident Evil games like 4 with Salazar. If you play on normal and unlock the Chicago typewriter, this is not sped up in any way. This is how long the fight takes. But they could have been more creative with it. As I've stated so many times with Heisenberg, I really cannot stress enough how much of a disappointment and missed opportunity this was. Like, it was right there. And that open world thing is an illusion to begin with. In the previous games, we had pseudo open worlds where we would change sets eventually at multiple points throughout the game. So like 2, you were in the police station and you could go back to areas of it that you explored already. And then you go in the parking garage and the basement and you can still go back to parts of the station that you visited. And then you go all the way down into the sewers and I think you still eventually find a way back up to the station. And it isn't until you go down to the labs where you really go into a new area and you can't go back, but you get the idea. Same thing with 3, kinda, same thing with 4. You can backtrack the whole village for a good long time until you get to Salazar's castle and then the island. It doesn't get super linear until about 5 or 6, and then we go back to that sort of open world-ish format with 7, with the mansion until the ship and salt mine. And then we come here where we apparently do both, but you can't go back to the castle, you can't go back to the house, and you can't go back to the lake. And I know I wasn't the only one that tried to go back to the castle. But hey, at least we're not fishing or something. Never mind. Yeah, you can collect animal parts for the Duke so he can make meals so you can upgrade your stats. Gonna be honest, I completely forgot about this because you only need to do all of this once. All of the upgrades carry over with each New Game Plus that you start. Your resources stack and carry over as well, so if you play as many times as I have, it can get a little silly. Your money also carries over. As I said in this video on my second channel, Resident Evil Village. The word that I would use to describe it is safe. So let's talk about the characters now. Ethan, like the generic plank of wood that he is, hasn't changed that much, but the changes he has represents another problem when creating a protagonist, so I'll save him for last. But I do want to say this. I ordinarily don't trash on voice acting. I really don't like being mean about voice acting, but when it comes to AAA projects, things change. Except for Ethan in particular, all of the voice acting was pretty much fine. I don't know if any of it was award-worthy, but I do think it was all fine and convincing and all that. It's neat that they got previous Resident Evil characters in to voice these characters, but there's a few glaring issues.
She is in great danger. Since Mother Miranda brought her to the village, we have fallen into darkness.
Stay back.
Please, don't hurt us.
Whoa. It's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just glad to see normal people at last. Have you seen any other survivors?
No. They're all in Louisa's house.
He helped Leonardo and Elena.
We were doing fine by ourselves.
Please, Ethan, take a seat. Heisenberg, the man's fate is in your hands.
Mother Miranda, I must protest. Heisenberg is but a child, and his devotion to you is questionable. Give the mortal to me, and I will ensure he is ready.
Shut your damn mouth!
No accents at all. The setting is supposed to be in the middle of Romania, Eastern Europe. That's here, by the way. And none of these people have any European accents of any kind. A couple of the lords aren't from the village, so a case can be made for them. They're fine. But Beneviento, Moreau, Miranda, and the villagers, y'all are Capcom, and you couldn't find European voice actors? Like, are you kidding me? And then there's Ethan. I want to be clear, I'm not blaming the actor, I am 100% blaming the studio, because most of this falls on a direction issue, and not doing retakes. Or in some cases, doing retakes when you don't need to. Ethan's voice acting is just so weak, and he also had issues in 7, but I at least didn't think there were enough to be worth mentioning. I don't hit on voice acting for indie games, but y'all are Capcom. Come the fuck on, man. You managed to do it in 4, 5, and 6. What the fuck happened? Why are we going backwards?
Mother, I bring you fresh prey.
You are so kind to me, daughters. Now, let's take a look at him. Well, Ethan Winters.
I'll be the one to say it. She's overrated. Completely overrated. Internet lost its shit over the character, which I don't really get, but whatever. I'm not here to talk about that. She's fine as a character. My main issues with her are all in the narrative. As far as her individual character is concerned, she's fine. Dimitrescu was not originally from the village, was one of the people that Miranda experimented on and didn't immediately turn into a Lycan, which made her a potential vessel for Ava. And I guess Miranda just gave her a whole ass castle? I mean, fair given the 9 feet tall thing. Kinda makes you wonder how she got the whole House Dimitrescu thing when she wasn't originally from the village. How long was she infected? Since 1920? I'm just wondering how that all happened. But let's talk about that. The blood thing. They tried to partly explain the blood thing as she had a hereditary blood disease before she got mutated, and that means that she now needs to constantly eat people and drink blood to maintain regeneration. But of course, they never tell you what the hereditary disease is. Now, I'm not a doctor, so take everything that I say here with a heavy grain of salt and correct me whenever I'm wrong. But I only know of a couple things that this could realistically be, but with some caveats. Porphyria is a hereditary blood disease that is said to likely be the origin of the vampire myths that everyone knows. Symptoms include extreme sensitivity to sunlight, a virgin garlic, and drinking animal blood to compensate for a defect in red blood cells. Only caveat here, Dimitrescu is out in the daylight and she would be super disfigured from it, but I suppose the megamycete infection could do something about that given the growth spurt. The only other one that I know of is legit clinical vampirism, or Renfield syndrome, which is the obsession with drinking blood. And that doesn't sound quite right, so porphyria makes the most logical sense. But of course, they never say what the disease is, so I'm writing the story for them. I am explaining it for them. Bowie, why are you telling us this? Because Capcom doesn't. Why is it so hard to give the names of the diseases and illnesses that your characters have? Like, you're willing to go into so much detail about the lore of the village and how the different houses came to be, but you won't do that with your characters. Like, the apparent lack of commitment is just astounding, but they'll tell us all about how the daughters do what they do. Dimitrescu put the plant blob in 3 female bodies, and they either died or just looked like they died. I'm gonna go with died with what happens next. The plant blob, this thing, laid eggs. I guess that's something it can do. The eggs hatched and it produced carnivorous flies that began eating the 3 bodies. After 4 days, all 3 bodies were completely devoured, and all that was left was a mass of these flies, who, in order to catch unsuspecting prey, will use pheromones to mimic a human. So I guess pheromones can create sound too, because, you know, they talk. Anyway, they don't die from the cold, but they become very weak and go into a dormic cryptobiotic state in cold temperatures. Which, like, motherfucker, you knew that about them. You knew the bugs are affected by the cold. Why the fuck did you put one of your daughters in the room with a ceiling that opens up? Because the doors to that room are locked, so you put her in there. Fucking whatever. I'm done. My head hurts.
Don't leave. I can't let you.
There's absolutely nothing that I can say about Beneviento. She isn't even on screen for like 5 minutes. She's tucked away in the corner in this scene. She appears for like 10 seconds in her house and then she's dead. We don't interact with her. I have nothing for her. It really makes me wonder why you even have her in the game if you're not going to do anything with her. The only reason why she exists is to have an excuse to do this dollhouse segment with the baby, and that's it. Let's look at her Twitter bio here. Affinity favorable, brain functions normal, although severe mental illness. Severe mental illness. Great. Which one? What did it do to her? What did it turn into after Miranda infected her? Physically, she is no different from a regular human, however, she can secrete a signal-producing substance which controls plants infected by the mutamycete. When humans absorb the pollen from a particular flower, she can cause them to have hallucinations. However, she is mentally underdeveloped and has divided her plant among her dolls in order to control them from a distance. Mentally underdeveloped? Well, that fucking checks out, doesn't it? Unfit vessel for Ava. This is her official page on the official website. A puppeteer who lives in a fog-filled valley and one of the 4 lords who serve Miranda. She shrouds herself in mourning garbs and is always accompanied by her doll Angie. You see what I mean? There's nothing. We learned that she got her doll from her father. Her parents died when she was a kid. Miranda adopted her and that's when she got infected and then puts the parasites in the dolls. And then she told the gardener to plant the flowers she uses for hallucinations, and that's it. I can't stress this enough. I don't have anything I can say about her. Oh, here's something, you might like this. So the model that they got for Beneviento is Daniela Aiko. She's the model that they used for the portrait, and apparently they have her face on the body in-game. Not that we ever see that, but when she dies, which is the only time that we see her face in-game, it's the same face model that they used for one of the Dimitrescu daughters. That actress. So they reused assets rather than using the face model that they got for the character. Why? Like, I can't even begin to understand that. Why would you use any model that isn't the face model that you got for the... It doesn't make any sense at all. And we know just as little with Moreau. Isn't it crazy that the 2 characters that disappeared in the background are the ones that we know the least about? That's wild. I never would have guessed that. We only get 2 diary pages from him, and they're after he's infected and experimenting on people looking for a vessel for Miranda. He treats Miranda as his actual mother and he has abandonment issues. What does his medical report say? Fucking nothing. He basically doesn't have a brain. This thing fucked him up severely. He turns into a fish, but he can't control when that happens. Heisenberg is honestly the only character I'm interested in, and I said everything that I wanted to say about him here. The only thing that I can really add on is that it was an extremely wasted opportunity. This was a character that you could have done so many interesting things with, both story-wise and gameplay-wise. We already talked about both of those, just all got wasted. It's such a disappointment.
What's going on? This can't be real. Am I losing it? What's going on?
Mia, what are you talking about?
Ethan. Ethan. Where do I even start with you? Bro smashed default on the character creator so hard that even the word generic is too unique for him. As I said before, in this game, Ethan represents another problem when making a protagonist, giving your character some personality while remaining one character. What do I mean by this? Let's get an example up here. Leon as Kennedy, Resident Evil 4. Leon is a stereotypical late 90s, early 2000s action hero character with small moments of comedy, sarcasm, and general badassery. This is a situation where stereotyping is fine. At no point does he show any traits of other character archetypes. You could say that Leon kinda has the hardened veteran vibes since this is taking place after he's been through the Raccoon City incident, where he was supposed to start his first day on the job with the Raccoon City Police Department, only to find the entire station dead. In this game, Ethan is a very serious, seasoned veteran character. But also an everyday family man who just wants his daughter back character.
I'm healing my daughter.
A self-sacrificing hero for a cause we can relate to character.
I will save Rose!
A generic action hero character complete with generic action hero voice.
All this time, I thought I could save my family.
A comedy relief.
Hey, don't I get a say in this? Caught myself a big one.
A one-liner character.
You're the one who's cursed.
And if I missed any others, I wouldn't be surprised. What I'm saying is Ethan is too many characters in one package and he is not good at any of them. Remember in the last game where he didn't give a singular fuck about anything happening around him and how that didn't make a whole lot of sense? Well, here, it would make sense for him to be like, oh goddammit, not again. And to be unfazed by more bioweapon shit. But instead we have...
What did all this? What happened? What's going on?
Oh, but even better, all of his reactions that I'm actually fine with him having are all written in his diary. When you could just have him say this shit and react. For fuck's sake. And lastly is the other thing that kind of gets under my skin. And again, this is a AAA studio. This is Capcom, not an indie project. I don't feel bad about this. Ethan's animations throughout the entire game. All of Ethan's movements feel very stiff. Like when he's reloading, I can tell that only his arms are moving and nothing else. It's fucking weird when you start noticing it. Typically when you're playing a character that maintains a first-person perspective, yeah, you can't see their face or their body, so you generally won't think about their animations. Ethan, on the other hand, feels like the stiffest plank of wood, and I know why. The animators did not give a fuck about Ethan whatsoever. We'll start with a simple one, him walking forward. What in the fuck is this? Oh my god. You know what? I'm just gonna stop talking and let this shit speak for itself.
Know your place.
Hey, are you listening? Hey! What the? Shit! No, stay back!
No, let me go!
Ah, shit!
Likewise, you'll be sliced to ribbons.
Who's gonna love you?
It's stiff. That's the only way I can describe it, and it's really weird because he felt fine in Resident Evil 7, at least to me. Maybe it just wasn't as noticeable? And this is going to be the final thing that I want to address. I do not understand the obsession with making sure you never see his face. I get that not seeing someone's face helps with the player imprinting onto the character so they can be in their shoes, but
One, that doesn't exactly work when said character does things we wouldn't do or say things we wouldn't say. And two, if you're going to have cutscenes like this, but you're still trying to keep us from seeing him, it just makes it unnatural and forced to just this absurd degree. Because he's just staring at the ground, not looking at Rose or Chris. We can't tell if he's in pain, if he's tired, if he's dying. He's just sitting here like a lump. And instead of looking at all three of them to get all of their reactions, we're looking at Rose, who has no reaction because she's fucking comatose and a baby. And then Chris, it kind of just diminishes the tension that we're supposed to feel here. Like, brother, hold your damn head up. You're gonna snap your neck if you keep doing that. No, he never looks up. Even when he hands her off, takes the detonator and pushes them away and says goodbye to Rose. But yeah, I don't like Ethan. Alright, I know there's one character that some of you are probably screaming at me about by now, so let's go ahead and talk about him. The Duke. There is a reason why I left him out of the majority of my recap here. I was demonstrating exactly what Capcom did with his damn character. The Duke is arguably the biggest fuck up of the whole game. They originally gave him lore. There was lore about his character that we would get to know. But instead of doing the sensible thing and leaving that stuff in so his existence makes any semblance of sense, they cut all of his lore out and reduced him to the role of the mystical, all-knowing quest giver, which obviously creates a bit of a hole.
I've been waiting for you, Mr. Winters.
How do you know my name?
Anyone who is anyone has heard of the likes of you. A hero searching for his daughter. Though I must say, that castle arouses suspicion.
Yeah, and so do you.
I am but a humble merchant.
Here?
Oh, forgive my manners. Call me the Duke. Now to business. Weapons, ammunition, healing salves, anything you desire, I can provide. Oh, we meet again.
Duke, why are you here?
Where there's coin to be made. And have you found your daughter?
No.
If she is truly here, the lady of the castle would have kept little Rose in her private chambers, would she not?
Dimitrescu?
The very same. Why don't you take a look? Maybe you'll get lucky.
Dimitrescu is done in by the likes of you!
It's a pleasure to see you safe. How were things?
No sign of Rose.
I'm so sorry it turned out that way. Well, you'll find your way to her once you're out of this castle. Do you have need of anything for the road ahead? There you are. I had a feeling you would pop up here.
It was all worthless.
Is that so? I assume you've picked up something of value.
Not sure if it's of value, but...
Why, you have your daughter right in your own hands.
What are you saying?
Take a closer look. That flask seems to contain her head.
No. What?
Rose is...
Don't say another word! This is impossible! This just can't be!
Your daughter's essence is still intact. Her powers are truly unique.
Who could even do this?
She can be saved, you know.
Saved? From this? Are you insane?
There's a house with a red chimney on the western side of the village. Go and seek out the man who lives there. Then we can continue our conversation.
Quit holding out and get to the damn point.
You don't have to trust my words. But do you have any better options?
I found these feathers. Now tell me how to fix this like you said you would.
Settle down. First, you must use that key and collect all of your little roses flasks.
Where are the rest of them?
There are 4 in total. You have the one, and the other lords have the rest.
Lords?
Mother Miranda is the cold, calculating ruler of this village. 4 lords serve under her. The first you've already met, the Lady Dimitrescu. The second lives deep in a valley of mist, the doll-maker, Donna Beneviento. None of her playmates have ever come back from that dank old estate. The third is Moreau, a being of twisted flesh that lives in the reservoir past the windmills. It is said that he is not the only monster that lives in those waters. The fourth and most dangerous is Heisenberg. He works in his factory on the village outskirts, and the project. Let's just say parts of the human imagination are better left alone. If you truly wish to save your daughter, you must first gather the 4 flasks. I'll do you a personal favor. I've marked the Lord's locations on your map. Some treasures still lurk in this village. I'm sure each one will prove of great use to you.
He's so important that the Dimitrescu castle has a special room for him and they don't care that he's there. There's a note talking about him visiting for a meeting at some point. Why is he so important to them? I don't know. How does he know that these flasks are rose? I don't know. How does he know that the lords are holding them? I don't know. How does he know what Miranda wants? I don't know. How does he know that there's still a way to fix Rose and that she's separated but her essence is intact? I don't know. Why is he helping us? I don't know. Who is he? I don't fucking know. Like, no, motherfucker. If you're gonna give us a character that is so vital to plot progression and tells us where to go, what to do, what everything is, and brings us from the factory to Miranda's ceremony site, you need to tell us who the fuck this guy is and how he knows all this shit. And I mean tell us, not write some hints down in some notes somewhere. Everyone thinks about RE4's merchant and compares the Duke to him. Here's the difference between the two. 4's merchant was barely even a character. He did not influence any part of the story. He was never a part of the story. The merchant was quite seriously just a shop mechanic with an iconic voice and lines. And he was usually a sign of safety, which would help if you did ever get scared in Resident Evil 4. If you saw the purple torches, then you knew you were close to the merchant and close to a safe area. Get that breath of relief that we talked about in horror games before. The Duke is a shop mechanic, but he is also part of the story. He influences part of the story. He tells Ethan where to go. He is very, very, very important. And there is no reason why. Like I said, most of the lore stuff involving the Duke was cut from the game. Maybe you shouldn't have done that, Capcom. Like, I can't even begin to understand the reasoning behind that. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you cut out all of the context that would make the character make any amount of sense? I already talked about Chris as much as I have the patience to. They completely fucking destroyed his character, and I don't like it. Miranda is okay, remarkably absent for a main antagonist. I don't really need to go over her too much because I basically explained all there is to explain in the story breakdown, so I'll just go straight to the questions. Like, this village is pretty small. How in the world did she manage to do these experiments for 100 years? How did nobody notice or question anything? And then how did nobody question anything once the lords came into the picture and started experimenting on people? Why is there a whole religion around her and the lords? How did nobody she used to work with ever notice that she never aged and didn't die? Why is she using birds as her little symbol thing? I take personal offense to that. I can't answer any of the questions I have about her because I simply do not know enough about her, which is a little shocking considering she is supposed to be the central antagonist. To end this section, the characters were fine but ultimately wasted. There's a dynamic between Heisenberg and Dimitrescu that we never see outside of here, which is extremely disappointing.
You're the one who's arguing with Miranda's decision.
You wouldn't know responsibility if it was welded
Oh,
to
keep
that.
growing! One day your head might actually fit your ego!
There were nonsensical decisions made, and I don't like Ethan. So I've suggested some changes that I would have made here and there, but I want to take a moment to really go into how I personally would have handled this game, to maybe show you just the extent of how much missed opportunity there is. So starting with the storybook introduction, they wanted to start the game with a narration and a little story thing. That's cool and everything. Entirely their choice, totally respect it. I would have made it interactive, and I would have changed the story just a little bit. And this could be done with narration and without narration, but if you want to keep the aspect that Miranda is reading to Rose, then keeping the narration will be the obvious choice. Instead of the lords giving the child 4 gifts, you have a branching path going 3 directions. The path on the left goes to a castle, the middle leads to a village, and the right goes to either a factory or a stronghold with some obvious modifications. And you can see a lake in the background in between the village and the factory. The child makes some motion that she's hungry and goes to the village. When she enters the village, she finds it eerie and dark and abandoned. She meets the Bat and the Reaper avatars, and the Bat points to the castle. If there's narration, then Mia would read that the Bat tries to trick the girl into going to the castle and the Reaper tries to tempt her with a doll. The child shakes her head and the Bat gets angry. She runs to the lake where she meets the Toad, but he won't help her. She runs to the factory and meets the horse. The horse gives her a gift, and the book ends the same way, with Miranda appearing and the book closing. Cut to the house. Rose is not a baby, but more like 5 years old, and Mia and Ethan are in a room tucking her into bed. Mia's reading the story, Ethan's listening, they say goodnight to Rose and leave the room. Then, Ethan asks Mia why she keeps reading that story and starts pressing that Mia has been getting really into the local things, and maybe hints that it's not something she normally does. She says they can talk about it later and asks for help with the dishes, and Ethan says he'll be right there, and now the player has control and can explore the house while being prompted to quickly visit their bedroom. After the events of 7, Ethan is more veteran, more prepared, and there's some obvious trauma. He always has at least 1 pistol on him at all times, and he has a secret room hidden in the bedroom, courtesy of Chris by Ethan's request. This room has a few guns and provisions and a computer where you are prompted to visit, and Ethan sits down and types into a notepad application listed as journal or something, and says something along the lines of, Mia is behaving stranger every day. She's been reading things to Rose that I don't think she's old enough to hear yet. I think I should call Chris. And gets up. And then you have the option to read through the other entries. Entry 1, we finally got settled into this house, but Mia still isn't comfortable with talking about how she was involved in what happened in Louisiana. I told her I'd give her whatever time she needs, but I don't know how much longer I can wait without answers. Entry 2. Now she's saying she doesn't remember what happened in Louisiana at all. I don't understand. She's been acting weird. She seems to know a lot about this area that we're in. I didn't think she did. She never said anything when we moved here. And then the new entry. Go down to the kitchen, help with the dishes, scene plays as normal, but when Ethan sees the wound, he drops to the floor, pushes the table over, and brings Mia down behind the table with him. Lights go out, team enters the house from both sides, one guy grabs Ethan and drags him back, the rest of the team light Mia up. Boom, surprise Chris shot, he doesn't say, sorry Ethan. Instead, he says, Ethan, we need to get you and your daughter out of here and find Mia. Grabs you, Ethan understandably says, Chris, what the fuck are you doing? And Chris says, Ethan, shut up and move if you want to live. Cut to black, boom, opening game. Then, quickly walking to the front door, Rose is running down the stairs asking obvious questions. What's going on? Where's mom? Who are these people? And Ethan just looks at Chris. There are 2 transport trucks outside. Chris, walking towards one of them, says, that wasn't Mia, we need to go. Puts Ethan and Rose in the first truck. Chris and half of his team get in that truck, leaving the other one for the other half of the team and Miranda's body. In transit, Miranda wakes up after healing, breaks out of her transport, causes Ethan's truck to crash. He's groggy, can barely see, but he can hear Rose screaming and calling for him. Then he can kind of make out that she's reaching for him, with Miranda dragging her out of the truck, and they disappear. Tragedy. Gameplay from here would be the same up until he meets the old dude that gives him a gun. That doesn't happen, already has a gun. He enters the house but stops when he starts hearing the growling and snarling and scratching on the wood of the house and sees something pass by the window. He goes to investigate, steps on a bad floorboard and crashes through the floor. Scene plays out, but instead of saying, "Oh, a dead body?" he says, "God damn it." And he doesn't get bit in the hand, he just breaks out. Go over to the house with the radio. This is where he meets the Lycans, and they're actually Lycans. This little house scene plays out as it normally does. He hears the radio transmission and goes searching the village. There's a few werewolves in the village that you need to take out, and once the last one is killed, the gate is unlocked and a villager comes walking out. She can have some dialogue or something. The villager is Elena, and she meets Ethan. They have some back and forth. Her father is not scratched, and this scene plays out as normal, but the villagers stay alive. They reveal that the Lycans you just killed were the last ones in the village. You essentially liberated the village, and the village is now your hub. And it's an actual open world game. Oh, and if you complete all villager side quests, they'll burn Dimitrescu at the stake, because fire is universally effective unless your name is Wesker. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit of how I would have handled this. Man, that was a lot, but I think I covered just about everything that I wanted to talk about, so conclusion. These games are fun to play, at least they are to me. I wouldn't have put almost 100 hours in 7 and over 120 hours in 8 if they weren't fun to play. They have good atmosphere and good environments. They look great. Some of the characters are pretty good, some are okay, some aren't so great. But I think they would have been better suited if they were removed from the Resident Evil franchise, treated as their own things, and given a little bit more care. Because I don't think anyone can be blamed for subjectively thinking that these games do not feel like Resident Evil. It's a complete disconnect from the rest of the Resident Evil universe that has been built up. Which is fine, that's not an issue if they want to do a reboot. The issue is when they start screwing with that lore to suit this narrative. They tried to say that fucking Dr. Spencer created Umbrella because he saw her carving in a cave in Romania and he got inspired by Miranda, completely retconning him as well and creating an issue all in one fell swoop. When he knew he was dying, why didn't he just go to Miranda? In his own words, he was to become a god, creating a new world with an advanced race of humans. He had the right to be a god. He can't do that if he's dead. And he knew about Miranda and her whole thing going on. They turned Chris into a fucking idiot. They couldn't even go 2 games without recontextualizing things. It's so strange. Because this is supposedly Capcom that developed it, but almost every issue that I found with Village in particular, it just feels like an indie studio made it, from reusing assets, simplifying puzzles, Ethan's animations, Ethan's speed between running and walking, the lack of animations like the fish in the lake after you drain the water, the amount that they don't do simply because it's out of your line of sight so they don't have to. It's all stuff that I expect to see from an indie studio because indie developers, indie teams, really small studios don't have the same resources, the same time, the same experience that a AAA studio does, so they have to cut corners. A part of me wonders if they just did what Ubisoft did with Assassin's Creed and just handed it off to a branch that didn't have much experience. The only thing that stops me on that is how different the lords and their sections feel. It feels like 4 different people handled the 4 sections. Like Capcom handed this off to 4 indie studios, 1 for each section, and just let them borrow the engine, and Capcom took care of the cinematics and the mocap for the characters. That's my little tinfoil hat moment. Anyway, after looking at Resident Evil Requiem's trailer, it looks like they're doing the correct thing and abandoning this plotline and going back to Raccoon City. Personally, good. Because I could not care less about Ethan Winters or Rose or Mia. And I like what I see, but it's a fucking trailer that just released. My expectations are not high. I am not going to make any guesses about anything from an 8-minute trailer. But I do like what I see, and I am interested. But if that shit's $100, oh, go fuck yourself. How much money do you think I'm fucking making, dude? But, you know, really quick. They're going back to Raccoon City, right? Which, narratively, got absolutely decimated, and the only thing left of it was a smoldering crater. And the buildings are still... Oh boy. Anyway, the games by themselves are fine as long as you ignore all the story. The story leaves a lot to be desired. The amount of wasted potential that is present to me is absolutely astounding, and they had an opportunity to do something really unique here and instead chose to do whatever this is. It's disappointing, and I hope the upcoming game will be a massive improvement. I hope. That's all from me. I am Bowiehunter, and thank fucking God I am done with this shit. Jesus Christ.